Hello, this is Dr. Johnson, and this is Grace College's Introduction to Statistics, and we're covering section 3.2 today. So, in the reading that you should have done, some of the things that you guys covered would have been quantitative variable, since we covered more of a categorical variable situation last time, and so when we talk about quantitative variable, we end up making a histogram of the distribution. And when we talk about the distribution, we're often asking for the shape, which would be like the number of peaks or modes of the data, and then whether or not it's skewed. Skewed to the right would be a tail to the right, skewed to the left is tail to the left. The median is the middle value, and then you learned a little bit about how the median and the mean can be the same or different in this reading. That's going to be that's going to come back in this worksheet. Then you learned about population and sample. That's going to come back in the worksheet. And the central limit theorem is going to come back at the end of this worksheet. Okay. So in the worksheet, we are going back to the Gettysburg Address from last section. But we're going to look at the data from more of a quantitative perspective instead of a categorical perspective. So I think I've almost already answered question one for you. So is the number of letters per word a quantitative or categorical variable? But tell me why. That's the key there. Tell me why is it quantitative? Suggest a statistic, a single number you could calculate from your sample that summarizes the number of letters per word variable. So there's really two choices that were given in the reading, and either one of them would work here. For number 3, what parameter are you hoping to estimate with your statistic? So for this, you would want to, for our situation with the Gettysburg Address, you know the whole population, which is something you often wouldn't know in like a real applied statistical situation. So don't tell me like what the number is, tell me how you would find it. But be specific to this case of the Gettysburg Address. Okay, how could we explore whether the sampling methods used previously are unbiased in estimating the parameter you identified in number 3? What does it mean to be unbiased in this context? That is going back to the last section where we talked about biased. So if you don't remember or if you're kind of confused here, you might need to go back to the last section and review what does it mean to be biased, what does it mean to be unbiased. But that's kind of the situation we're looking for there. Okay, so this distribution regarding those 3 numbers, those are going to come back. So data is skewed if the bulk of the tail is skewed right, if more of the tail is to the right. Skewed left if more of the tail is to the left, and the median is the middle data point. So in regards to when you got a distribution like this, then the median is the line where you're coloring like one half of the area one color, one half the other color, like you're splitting the area in half. Whereas the mean is like if you had this on a teeter-totter. And so the difference is, and where would it balance? And so the difference is that when you have more of a right tail, then that affects the teeter-totter because it's like further out there. But for the median, it doesn't really affect the median as much because the median is just the equal area. And so whether or not a few things move further out, the median's not affected, but the mean is. Okay, so hold on for a sec. Okay, so the mean is found to be 4.295 letters. Do you think the median is larger or smaller than 4.295? So the explanation should use stuff from your reading. So if you don't know exactly how to answer this, go back to the reading. For number 6, summarize the behavior of this population. Recall that when we have a quantitative variable, we should talk about shape, center, using the mean or the median, the variability, using standard deviation, and outliers, as well as making sure that we are making comments relevant to the context of the study. So for number 6, go to this and summarize it using those things that I've asked you about. Okay, so the key idea is to distinguish between a quantitative variable and a categorical variable. Is that use different symbols. So remember that we use English letters for the things we know, the sample mean and the standard deviation. And we use Greek letters for the numbers we don't know. The population mean is mu, pronounced just like the Pokemon, and then the population standard deviation is sigma. Okay, so identify the values of mu and sigma for the length of words in the Gettysburg Address. So those refer to up here. And then for number 8, what term do we use to describe a sampling method where the distribution of the statistics centers around the population mean? Again, this is referring back to the last section, so it's kind of reviewing that idea. Open the sampling words applet, make sure the variable is set to length. Okay, we'll do that in the next video.